Hey, how are you? We are back. It's the Nerdy Entrepreneur. And if you haven't been watching the news, I don't know where you have been, okay? Because it seems for a lot of people, things are just getting worse and worse and worse, all right? And what I'm talking about is the layoffs, particularly the federal employees. The IRS has said in a memo that out of their 90,000 workforce, number one, I didn't realize that there were 90,000 IRS employees, federal employees at all, that they are going to lay off half, which means 45,000 people, 45,000 federal employees from the IRS are going to be laid off. That's how much staff they're going to be cutting. Now, there's some people, because I'm in groups with other federal employees and contractors, where they have announced, hey, they got laid off last week. Okay. So if you're not paying attention or taking some of this seriously, if you're in a position where, hey, I work in the IRS, right? There's a lot of people who are afraid because I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, my mother was like, yo, go get a job in the feds, go get a city job, a state job, a government job, because that was supposed to give you stability, if nothing else. If all else failed, that was your stability. And I remember back then telling I was like, it's not working like that because I was doing stuff for the state and was supposed to be called for a different state job, and they were doing cuts. So this was back in like 2008, 2008, and then around 2010, the economy was really bad, especially if you were in New York City. There were state agencies laying people off. So in my lifetime so far, I've gotten laid off about maybe 2 or 3 times. One from a corporate company that wound up hiring us back like a few months later. It was like stupid. And by, semi-governmental or government agencies. That's what happens. And so you are not safe just because you have a government job. That doesn't mean you'll have stability. It doesn't mean that, hey, once I get this job, I'm going to do the bare minimum, maybe do a lateral move to a different department or, move up to the next thing and that's it. It's not like that. It hasn't been like that for a long time. I remember being online with other former state employees taking civil service exams. I took civil service exams only to be like, oh, we're going to trash your list. Because we're not going to hire. I've been through that. You're not safe. But we've gone through such a period where it seems that we had some realm of safety. Now, the IRS, about 3 or 4 short years ago, people remember the shutdowns and remember there was a whole lot of free government money all over the place. They hired thousands of people. I mean, they hired thousands of people. There were government agencies. All you had to do, it seemed, it was like, fill out an application. They called you. It was that time when everything, some people were still like locked in place and all that other stuff. They hired thousands of people, but they didn't lay off those people. They kept them. So now we're finding out we have all these employees, all this bloat. We have a change of administration. The government's slightly getting tighter with money. And I say slightly because I'm a government contractor. I bid for contracts, among other things. And yes, other contracts are being, shut down. But a lot of the other ones, anything that's considered mission critical, has not been touched. In fact, other companies have gotten more government contracts, including some of the people who are in the Trump administration who have companies all of a sudden are awarded government contracts. And this is all public knowledge, so you can go fact check me on that if you want. So while in one space we are going to, cut down on the 45,000 employees, and I got noticed today from one of the groups I'm in where you got a lot of people who do help desk and other technical stuff for a lot of government agencies that the VA, Veterans Affairs, is also looking to lay off around 80,000 people or potentially on the chopping block. Now that's a memo. I will check on LinkedIn, but I have like 7 people who are all in the same group. And they say, yeah, they got a memo today and they're like rattled. So that will be confirmed probably tomorrow morning or next couple of mornings because everyone will have gotten these memos. And at the same time, people getting crazy memos. They don't know whether, hey, am I going to be laid off because I got a memo from my department saying they're about to cut, 20,000 jobs, 8,000 jobs. Am I supposed to pay attention to this? Like a lot of that, unfortunately, is going on right now. And so there's some federal employees, they're scared. There's a lot of contractors that are worried and are scared. But think about this. You got this job, you finally got a job at the IRS. Because I remember getting into the IRS was a very competitive thing, right? And then a couple of years ago, I'm like, damn, all these people getting hired by the IRS. This like, I remember trying to get into the IRS was a very hard thing to do. And all of a sudden, all these people jumping in the IRS. And I'm like, they hired a lot of people, but I thought they had hired these people on temporary, contracts. Apparently they didn't. And these people were still working there and were actually granted federal employee status. Because I know there were contractors that were called to work from home for the IRS. And so a lot of people they're getting rid of, from my understanding, just being in the groups where some of these people work and hang out because they do the tech side, is that a lot of them were working from home. And if you're working from home, I think you probably were or are in the greatest danger because, the president wants people back in the office, and, for some people, especially if you are not front facing, and most of the IRS is not front facing, what's the point of us having all these federal buildings and paying for all this stuff if you're not going to be there, right? It's the same thing that's happening to folks on the private side. What's the point of us having these buildings and having these offices and paying for all these benefits for people who are not going to be here? So what I am seeing is a lot of these folks tend to be on the chopping block and are just being gotten rid of, and it's unfortunate things that have happened, to be in this position where, oh crap, I'm a federal employee, I'm supposed to have a security, and then all of a sudden I'm gone. What do I do? It's not like I can hop. Well, you can hop to another federal agency, but they also do a massive cuts. So unless the job you do, and you could translate that into value to get another federal job or a state or a city job, for a lot of people, they're going to be in a terrible position for a long time. And a lot of folks I have seen are taking months to get a new gig. There are some people where for 9 months, 12 months, they're still looking for a job. We see a lot of YouTubers here who, hey, they were working as a Fed or they were working as this, and they've gotten laid off. And so they have YouTube channels talking about how they do on DoorDash, talking about how they're surviving. Now, some of these channels are giving some good advice for those of you before you get laid off, what you should do. And some of it I've listened to is not bad advice because, I've been laid off before. It ain't fun. But the difference was when I got laid off, I wasn't dependent solely on that one income stream, on the federal government, just the check I was getting, or the state or city check I was getting. I had other stuff going on. I was freelancing. I had another business. I had other jobs that I did. Because I had always intended at that point to leave that place anyway. And I was like a year out. And they're like, oh, you got budget cut. You gone. And I was able to survive. Because I had revenue coming in from different places and support and everything else. So I was okay. But a lot of people I know are not going to be okay. I'm sitting in the groups that I've gotten to know some people, and some people, when I have a contract, I'm like, hey, you know how to do this with links? Great, I need you. Are in a position where they don't have that type of support that I had. They do not have a lot of money or any money where they can sit on their butt for a few months and be okay. They're not getting severance. They're not getting any severance, right? That's just not there for them. And so, you got to look at the situation, and maybe you're in a similar situation. Because I don't know everybody who might watch this live later on or right now, whether or not, you have other things going on for you. But most people, in my experience, don't. What they want to do is they want to go home after work. They don't want to go out and network. They don't want to upskill. They don't want to, they don't want to network to get a better position or more training just in case something happens. Because sometimes networking isn't just to get the new job. It is to help insulate yourself from when things like this happen. Whether you're in the public sector or private sector, networking is important. And that's not talked about enough unless people are trying to sell something or when someone gets laid off. And now you got all these people, especially my folks who work from home. For you guys, you got to understand, when you work from home, everything you do is going to be scrutinized. People think you do nothing all day. And because of TikTok, y'all show that you don't do much all day, which was not a good idea for some of you, unless you were really turning it into some type of business, right? So now you're in a position, that you're in. So what do you do? Well, one, whatever state you're in, make sure you file your unemployment as soon as possible. Um, Apply for any other federal jobs. Sometimes you can do a lateral move real quick if you have clearance. I don't know if any IRS, unless you're IRS agent, that you would have clearance. But if you have any type of clearance, now it's time to go into federal contracting sites. And try to keep that clearance as long as possible if you have it, or go to contracting sites if you have technical skills and can do that or not. There's city and states, at least, okay, let me back this up. In Maryland, in that area, the DC area, I know they were having events for people who were laid off. And so if you can find that type of event, if you're in that area, maybe there's some other areas that you can go to and see if they're having hiring events for their state and local government, because some of them still have, money and budget, need people anyway. You can go there and, start, pounding the pavement that way. But you also need to turn around and look at the private sector and see where you could fit in. Now, you have to translate what you were doing from a federal perspective to a private sector perspective, okay? That's what you need to do. You might want to do Uber Eats and all that other stuff. If you have a car, you do it. Because I don't know what your financial situation is, but you need to go out with all guns loaded, because you didn't see this happening. It just happened to you, right? Because you don't know how much you want to get for unemployment, but most of the time unemployment is never what you was really taking home. So you may not have enough money to pay your bills or pay your rent. But the other thing you should do is try to freelance. Try to find some type of hustle that allows you to make at least $1,000 really quick in the next few weeks. $1,000 to $2,000 in the next few weeks. Find something to do and do it. Because, your rents vary. But hey, if your rent is $1,500 a month and the way unemployment going to go, you're going to either just make it. And unemployment takes about 2 weeks for most people to start kicking in. So you might be late and you don't want that. So I would do those things, savings, credit card, use them. But I would try to find something to freelance in, something that doesn't take 6 weeks to do or 6 months to do and learn. And I would be pounding the pavement, stumbling along the way. Everyone likes to talk about YouTube University because no one wants to pay for anything, allegedly. I would do that, and I would just get to it. I wouldn't sit and memorize nothing. I'd be like, okay, what's a side hustle I could do that can help me turn around and make money so I can make my rent, if you're in that position. And that's the thing I would do. And maybe that's Uber eating all day and door dashing all day, but there's other things that you can do. But then you'd have to learn how to talk to people and just a tiny bit of sales. I would be looking for those things. And knowing that, okay, it's going to be like this for 6 to 9 months, I would certainly be learning some sales skills, because if you can sell, you can get a job. If you can sell, you can turn around and start your own thing real quick. And that's what I'd be doing. I don't care I don't care if you going and cleaning people's houses, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be homeless. You don't want to be living in your car because you're forced to, or not have access to your cell phone because you can't afford to pay the bill. Those things you do not need to happen to you. So I would do that. If you have been laid off, right? Find some kind of side hustle. Do a marketing co-op where you get a bunch of companies together to pitch in for an ad and charge a little bit more so you can make a profit, so you can at least get your rent together. Do something. For my folks who've gotten laid off, you might see this. Some suggestions. For those who are not laid off, but you have a fear and a concern that could happen to you, I would try to save what you can if you're in a position to do that. I would try to reduce some of your spending where you can. In terms of food, I would look for food and buy the family size if you're not already a family. If you're saying you're single, living by yourself, and things that are non-perishable items, and store that. So in case you go a week or two, you cannot go shopping for anything, you have stuff. So that includes water, your juice, some noodles, chicken you could freeze, all that kind of stuff, stocking up just in case you can't go shopping for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Start doing that. That will be important for you. Some people might want to start a little veggie, grow, lettuce or whatever. They grow quick and indoors. Stuff to keep you from spending too much because you're trying to reduce and put a little bit of money aside because you don't want to be homeless, right? I would, while you're still working, if you could pick up extra shifts in a place that pays overtime, I would do it. I would be doing it. While you have a job, it is always easier to get a job while you have a job. Get a secondary job. Get an overnight job. I worked the overnight job. I worked 2 overnight jobs. Different points in my career. I did. Do that. Take that money, put it to the side. Take that money, put it to the side. Find something that you can do as a side hustle. Your own small business. It doesn't have to be a macro business. It can be a micro business where its job is to make anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Learn the skills for that job because you're still working. That job cannot be something that's going to cost $10,000, $20,000 for you to start. That's going to take you 6 to 9 months to start. Most likely it'll be some type of freelance job or play a middleman job like with cleaning or whatever. It has to be able to give you a profit of at least $1,000 plus a month if you are still working. It is so much easier to do this while you still have a job versus when you don't have a job. Start doing that now. This is not the time to pretend, well, I'm not, I don't want to do all this work. You don't have an option. For a lot of you out there, you don't have an option. You do not want to be in a position where you find out tomorrow that you have lost your job. So while you have it, start figuring out what you could do to get some money in your pocket outside of DoorDash and all that other stuff, because that's taking a hit too. You don't want to be one of those people. Find something freelance copyright, freelance writing, freelance social media. Can you network and talk to the businesses in the area you live in? Get 3 to 5 of them to pay you $500 to $600 a month to handle their Instagram and TikToks, so that you have some money coming in. That's something most people can do. You can find 5 to 6 of them to do that. That's what you want to do. Something quick that you can get some money so you can stack up. So just in case, hey, what happens if you do get laid off, let's say in 2 months? Well, you've gotten 3 customers, so you have 1,500 coming in. That's better than nothing. You can always scale up now. These are the things you got to think about. Think about doing. Taking on secondary jobs, starting your own thing so you can charge what you want. Learning to go and talk to people. Yes, people will reject you. That's part of it. But it doesn't matter, because I rather talk to 10 people a day in which 6 people tell me no, and 1 person tells me maybe, which is no in most sales terms, but 3 people tell me yes a day, and I can collect the easy $1,500, and I do that for the rest of the days until I had $7,500 a month coming in, which keeps me more than comfortable. I wouldn't care, because I like sleeping indoors. I like having access to heat and electricity and paying my cell phone bill and all those things, right? I don't complain about paying those things online like some people do, right? Because it is getting really hard out there, and it ain't funny. It is. I know there's a lot of YouTubers and some I follow, and some people who choose the life of being a nomad and living in their car and they're traveling. The YouTubers, some of those YouTubers are doing it. They're working. They just ain't telling you. They're not jobless. They're not jobless. Some of them have got you tricked. They're not jobless. They do have a job. They choose not to live in the house. Because a couple of them, I know personally where the hell they work. They work remote. But they're not telling you that because that doesn't fit with the story that they want you to believe because they want your views. But it's not fun sleeping inside of a car every day, having to find a place to sneak in to take a shower. It's not fun sleeping in a shelter. Some of you have had that experience. It's not fun. And while things are up and down, and maybe you're lucky enough and you're in a position where, hey, you have a good job, is paying you really nicely. You've been saving some money in case something happens. You do some investing over here. So if you do lose your job, maybe it's a place where you can get severance, or if you lose your job, you can pop off and get another job within a few weeks. And there are some people with certain skills where that is true for. But I'm seeing people who are software engineers, who people I've known for a few years. I remember when we went to their coding boot camps and paid $20,000 to be in there. And when they got their jobs, and they were making, mid six figures, 180 to 200,000 a year, who recently got laid off and they're still looking for places to be. It's not fun. They are stressed out. They got families. They got all kinds of stuff. And they are out here like sitting ducks. And they know how to code and do all the other things. But they do not know how to sell themselves. They did not know how to network when they should have went to that conference to get to know people in the industry. Like I said, go to those conferences, your job paying for it, that, in case you need to hop, you'll make no, since you're working here, if you move to another company, you get paid more. They didn't want to listen to me because they were comfortable where they were. And when their job decided that, that AI agent can do that job faster than you and probably better and more accurate than you, they got rid of them. They got rid of them. And if you don't believe me, go check out the YouTube channels or the tech channels. Check them out. See what they're saying. There are people who are advocating going to coding boot camps have damn near disappeared off of YouTube. There are people who should show us the day in the life of what they were doing and where are they now. Then they made a video talking about they got laid off. And then they made a video weeks later when they couldn't find a job and stuff started getting really real for them, how they're going to be a content creator. And then that went on for a few weeks, and then they stopped making videos because they couldn't make it. I don't see the up and down. Some of you have seen the up and down. This is not a damn game out here. It is not a game. Unless you want to be homeless, unless you want to struggle to find a place to sleep and a place for you to go take a shower, we have to struggle for your safety. Because some of you, unfortunately, on YouTube, for some YouTubers, they made being really homeless something to aspire to. I'm not talking about my digital nomads who make that choice. But some of you have seen some of the others. It's not fun, and you don't want to be in that position if you can help it. So while for those of you who have jobs, for those of you who have a place of employment, don't play games. Start looking for other places to hop if you need to make more money. Start checking out your costs and reducing what you can, save what you can if you're in that position. No, it's not, doing this last minute is kind of hard. So I understand. Start looking for maybe secondary jobs. There are some people in tech that I know. I knew quite a few women in tech who had 2 and 3 jobs, had an office job and a remote job, daytime and nighttime. She was making $300,000-$400,000 a year. In fact, she still got both them jobs. They ain't find out yet. And I ain't giving y'all no more details because some of y'all will go look and try to find her. No. But that's what you got to do. Start your own business. I know everyone on YouTube says, start your own business. Freelance. If you're freelance, you start your own business. That's a business if you're freelancer. When the IRS I said, IRS, you want to see what that looked like? Almost 16 to 18% almost. It's like 15 in a quarter or something like that. Almost 16% taxes. You get taxed double when you're a freelancer. But most of you will be a freelancer anyway because they're about to let you go. So start learning those skills. You don't want to pay for it. I know people don't want to pay for it. I'm sorry, but people like me and like a friend of mine, Carlos, who has a YouTube channel on there, we are experts at what we do. We've been doing this for a long time. Carlos on his channel, he talks a lot about Carlos don't have to do anything. Carlos has made his money. Carlos doesn't do anything, but he likes doing what he does. Okay? But Carlos constantly is investing in his education to get better and better at what he does. Career development, his case is a business owner, development and being better at what he does. I do the same thing. I pay a lot of money. to learn and to implement so I can get more things I want to get and be able to help my clients more, help my students more. You're going to have to do the same thing. Now, you can go to YouTube University and watch a bunch of random folks. The unfortunate part is there's a lot of folks in here, selling a lot of BS out here. Okay? They're selling a lot of BS. You got a lot of 20-year-olds. Yeah, bro. You got the sauce. You're like, I'm 41 years old. I got a mortgage and a baby. I ain't got time for the sauce. Right? But there's a lot of them out there. But you need to learn some skills. You need to learn to set aside time and be like, all right, I'm going to prospect because I need to make by the end of the month, I need to get 2K extra. And if I can do that, once you achieve just getting your first sale and doing that, you'll feel like you're on top of the world. Yes, it's a grind. Yes, it's hard. It's a grind and it's hard. But what are options do you have? Leaving it to fate, leaving it to your government. We have a saying called daddy government and mommy government. Right now, we're in the daddy government phase. Daddy don't take care of you on this way. Like, you're right. So we're in that phase. And we're only a few months into the year. We're almost, 3 months into the year, right? First quarter. All this disruption in first quarter. And it's only going to, take off from here. Probably get a little worse for a lot of people here. So this is not a game. You need to figure out what is your plan in case. In fact, don't let the in case happen. Start working on starting your own business. So as a freelance, you don't need the whole, I need to get an LLC. Don't worry about that shit. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the LLC. As many people as get laid off from the IRS, that's the least of your damn problems is worrying about a tax bill at this point. You need to worry about what can you do. I might make another video about this because we're going to talk about thinking about how much money you actually need to make versus the fantasy of what people think you need to make so that you're not so overwhelmed. So that's going to be probably, I don't know, another video because we're going kind of longer than I expected to go. I didn't mean to go this long. My bad. I really didn't mean to go this long. But I'm just saying. Oh, I didn't even see Carlos. Hey, Carlos. My dude was here. I'm so glad he's... Thanks, Carlos, dude. I mentioned you in the video. If you're watching, I mentioned you in the video. So I just want to pay my dues to Carlos and Jim. Hey, Jim, if he was here, he said, I cleaned toilets and made a good living in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, you can still clean toilets out there. See, Jim has given you something to look at. I know you don't want to clean toilets, but damn, I'd rather have a bed to sleep in. I'd rather have air conditioning. I'd rather have all those things than been sleeping on the street, not being able to take a shower, and all that other stuff. Jim cleaned toilets. Jim was a janitor or a cleaner. I have a cleaning business. Okay, you'll just check the channel on some older videos, right? I'll probably do some more on that, right? Because I'm opening another area soon. But you can go out there. There was a young guy. Actually, he's a little older now, but young guy out there who went into like a Walmart or a Walgreens or something and bought some cleaning supplies and went out there and showed you, hey, anyone can start a window washing business. This is all the things you need. Get this and this, mix that together, and they go out there and charge like $150 and $200 and just keep on going down the block. And that's what he did. And by the time he ended his day, because he was trying to show us, he was getting people were slamming doors in his face, rejecting him, and he did not stop. So I think I think he had $1,000 or $2,000 that day. He did not stop until he made like $1,000 to $2,000 a day. Okay. Does it suck cleaning windows? Yeah, probably sure. Did he do it? Yeah, he did it. He showed us and got rejected. If you want to be a cleaning business, you can do that. There's always someone out there who needs their house cleaned. You might go into some horror stories, but you can make some money. You can make $1,000 a week cleaning someone's house, cleaning a few people's houses or apartments or move outs or that kind of stuff. You can make a good living just doing that. That's a low level skill, come in time, all that. Just do what you need to do to keep a roof over your head. That's my thing. Because there's a lot of you daydreaming. You're daydreaming. You're stuck on TikTok. You're stuck on YouTube Shorts and other YouTube channels of people making it look cool to be fucking homeless. It's not cool to be homeless. It's not fun to be homeless. There are people who choose that by choice, but it ain't fun when you're forced to do it and you don't have any food and you can't afford anything. This is not a game. It doesn't matter if you work in nonprofits. I got friends who work in nonprofits who've gotten awards for all the things they've done, who are at risk of losing their livelihood because they depend on federal and city and state funding, which is freezing up. Grants that they've won but may not or not being paid out right now. Okay? It's not a damn game. This is hitting people from all sides. Now, there's other people who will not feel the sting of this in such a way. And I don't want you to be one of those people. But you can't be one of these people playing around. You can't be one of these people not doing nothing. You're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to have to get used to people telling you no, 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 until you find what you say and get your yes. That's going to be important because you got to weather this for another 4 years. You got to weather this storm. That's what you got to do. It might take you another year to get a job. It might be that your company is downsizing. When they downsize, you're going to be like, well, you know what? I started that thing on the side. I'm making like $3,000-$4,000. At least anything go wrong, I got my rent and my food. I can figure out the rest. I'm doing this on the side. I could scale up. I could turn the dial up. I could turn the dial up and make more money because I'll have free time because I don't have to report to my 9 to 5. It's time to get real. For real, for real. But let me go. This was longer than I intended. Thanks, Carlos, for showing up. Thanks, Jim, for saying what you said. I hope people take into account what's going on. I probably do in lives more often because stuff is just, I'm just seeing like chaos happening at a higher level. And here's the thing. I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in the country. When people lose their jobs, crime goes up. When kids can't get jobs, when young graduates can't get jobs, or high school kids can't get a side gig, and when people lose their jobs en masse, and we have tariffs going on, and the cost of food is all the way up there, and everything is rising, and all this stuff is happening, what happens is crime goes up. People taking hard illegal drugs goes up. And that's what we got to look forward to over the next few years if this trend continues, and looks like it will continue in some shape or form. So it's time for us to prepare. So I'm going to do some more lives. Hopefully some folks hear me. I am the Nerdy Entrepreneur. If this was helpful for you, make sure you share. Leave a comment. Have you been laid off, or you're an employee who was recently laid off? Or are you afraid to be laid off? What are some things you would like to know that maybe I could talk about in another live or pre-recorded video and put it on the channel? And also, if you like, please subscribe to the channel. That helps me out and encourages me to share more helpful tips to help you survive the oncoming storm. Until next time, peace.